You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. We haven't talked about him in a while. And, of course, we'll touch on a team we've talked about a lot on this channel, the Steelers. Vikings are in this, supposedly. At least Rodgers hopes so, as word is emerging that that's really kind of where he wants to go. Although I will say this, I find the Tomlin-Rodgers combo to be really intriguing. I do. The other thing I would be very aware of was Rodgers improved as the season went on last year. Okay? And believe it or not, the Jets fan base was split pretty 50-50 with wanting to keep him versus letting him go. Generally speaking, the first year that you come back after an Achilles is not usually all that great. And I think it shows with Aaron Rodgers. I think it certainly showed with Kirk Cousins. But the second year is where you tend to see the full strength, the full return back to where a player can be after an Achilles injury. So it makes me wonder, what is in the tank for Aaron Rodgers this year? It wouldn't shock me if he has a better year than he had last year. And at least statistically, he looked pretty good, okay? He went the longest time without a 300-yard game and actually got one towards the end of the year. Had several, 250-plus yard games the last 6 or 7, 8 games of the season for the Jets. And I think he ended up being something in the neighborhood of a 13 touchdowns to 4 picks kind of ratio the last several games. There were things that would lead you to believe that Aaron Rodgers had some game left. But fans are real split across all lines as to where they want this to go. In case you're wondering, PFF, Aaron Rodgers graded out as the 18th best quarterback in the National Football League last year. That's the final grades. Interesting enough, he was ahead of Matthew Stafford, Jordan Love, and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's kind of interesting. So let's get to this right here. All right, this is the Steelers. Steelers are waiting on word from Aaron Rodgers. The 41-year-old quarterback is trying to decide between the Steelers, the New York Giants, and the Vikings, but he may make a sharp turn in a different direction. He may also retire here, folks. I mean, that's the other thing. According to the Athletics, Diana Rossini, Rodgers' top option this offseason is to sign a deal with the Vikings. As Minnesota tries to make a decision on J.J. McCarthy or Rodgers, the future of the Hall of Famer is in waiting, and therefore so are the Steelers. It would be so nuts to see Aaron Rodgers follow in the direct path and footsteps of Brett Favre. I mean, it's the prophecy fulfilled, as a lot of us have called it, if this actually happens. And look, I think Aaron Rodgers could only hope that he would go to the Vikings and have an ending that resembles what Favre had. Favre had 2 seasons there. That second one was rough. But that first one was one of Favre's best seasons. And, of course, they went real deep in the playoffs. Favre gave it a hell of a run right at the end of the career, right? So you never know. You never know. Now, whether or not, I will say of the 2 quarterbacks, Favre probably they both got a historically strong arm. Favre is probably still the one with the bigger arm, but it's not nearly as spaced out as you might think, considering Favre's known sniper rifle he had on his arm. Rodgers might not get to play for the Vikings. According to NFL insider Ben Albright, Minnesota doesn't have interest in Rodgers that Rodgers may have in Minnesota. Well, what's weird about this is a Broncos insider. Okay, so I don't know what that's about exactly. You see that right there, Blitzburg. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, has checked with a Viking source about Aaron Rodgers, and they said it's possible. But it's not likely because they're committed to J.J. McCarthy. Look, my feeling on this is, and look, I'm a Michigan fan. A big J.J. McCarthy fan. I actually had him as my number 2 quarterback coming out of the draft, and you might be like, what? Well, look, you may think I'm crazy, but Jaden Daniels was my number 1. All right? So J.J.'s got something, and J.J. can play, and the Vikings have seen it. They saw it in rookie minicamp. They saw it in training camp, and then they saw it in that first preseason game. J.J. McCarthy's going to play unless – he's going to be a good player, I'm saying, but unless – JJ is not feeling so good, all right? And I believe there was word of maybe a second procedure, if I remember correctly, that happened there involving J.J. McCarthy. So if they're even sniffing around Rodgers, I'm not sure JJ's ready to go. Now, I will tell you this. If the Vikings want another quarterback, and considering the connection with the franchise and Kevin O'Connell, why in the world wouldn't they just flip a 4th-round pick to the Falcons and get Kirk Cousins back? I mean, I guess I don't understand that. That would be a real easy, just slide him right back in and go. All right? He put up big numbers there. He knows the offense. And I think, like Rodgers, I think Cousins would have a bounce-back year. Now, do I think he should go to a cold-ass, harsh outdoor environment like Cleveland? No. I don't. I don't think Cousins ought to go to a place like that. But I think he would have done well with the Vikings. You know, I saw him going to possibly the Raiders. I don't know how well, Pittsburgh, maybe played in Washington at one time. But that's another guy out there that, yeah, the Falcons have said they're keeping him, but I think they're hoping to trade Kirk Cousins really and truly, right? So I don't know how this is going to end up going. I don't. Again, Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco are sort of in limbo. They're waiting for what it is that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up doing. Some have said, well, Russell, just go back to the Steelers. I don't know about that. They re-signed Mason Rudolph. I was banging the drum that Mason Rudolph should have been the starter last year, and they should have kept him. They didn't. He led that late season run for Pittsburgh 2 seasons ago into the playoffs when it looked like the Steelers were dead and wasn't going to make it. Mason Rudolph was the one that led that charge. And a lot of players on that team wanted Mason to stay and start. So I got to think, to be honest with you, I think it's Aaron Rodgers or it's Mason Rudolph with the Steelers. Russell Wilson, Giants. Kind of what I'm thinking here. All right. So, and Vikings, I have no idea. J.J. McCarthy or Aaron Rodgers or some guy that's not, it's not going to be Russell Wilson in Minnesota. I just don't think. I don't see that. I really don't. But anyway, I wanted to make a video and I wanted to talk about it because I hadn't had a chance to talk about all this quarterback stuff yet. By the way, Cleveland Browns, sign Joe Flacco and get him back. That was so fun when he was playing for the Cleveland Browns. He knows that offense, and the city loves Joe Flacco. Bring him back. At least make the Cleveland Browns interesting to watch. They're highly watchable with Joe Flacco playing. I mean, God, make them watchable. They make you want to poke your eyeballs out with Watson, and yeah, they were a little better with Jameis, but I mean, you knew that was an interception waiting to happen. Flacco looked damn good in Kevin Stefanski's offense, really. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.